And now a word from visiting artist Kanae Holder, me. According to Annie, yes, according to Annie, she said, hold on to your seats. This conference will be a way of fully codifying the unsaid yet pervasive dichotomies of the Hudson River Valley landscape. Through ritualistic cathartic purging, utilizing various forms and mediums, including voice, movement, music, video, rant, etc. Cathartic purging, utilizing various forms and mediums, including voice, movement, music, video, rant, as I've done a lot, etc. Event attendees will conjure up a new reality for the Hudson. Once these ideas are released, like dandelion seeds, they will spread and put all green pastures, both literally and figuratively, under attack. Although to some, this upheaval will be like asbestos removal, messy, unnecessary, and potentially dangerous. To us, the dredging up of demons is like chemotherapy. The cancer is colonialism, privilege, and unexamined and unnaturally naturalized whiteness. By re-inviting back those who were exterminated Native Americans, or exploited descendants of slaves, and other marginalized populations, migrant workers, we will be doing our part to repastoralize the pastoral. To repastoralize the pastoral. As Fanon says, each generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission, fulfill it, or betray it. We will not betray, but bestow a new reality among the hearts and minds that share this beautiful landscape.
Because I think the whole point of the pastoral aesthetic, if we juxtapose the pastoral aesthetic with other kinds of aesthetics, it's incredibly, it's all about like sort of this kind of, from the very beginning. It starts in ancient Greece with Theocritus,
right.
But Theocritus is not classical. Theocritus is part of what's called late antiquity. So he's already writing. He's actually writing. What's interesting is the Greek pastoral starts in Egypt, in Alexandria, in the Ptolemaic court, which was urban. So it's almost like writing nature poetry in Chelsea,
right.
Because like Donald Trump is paying you to.
Right.
So this guy Theocritus is writing this nostalgic poetry, not just about the Greek countryside, but also about these vanished heroes from this classical age. But it's highly literary, so the only people who can even understand it are the elite. It's not, it talks about shepherds, but no shepherd could actually read it. From the very beginning, it's about these paradoxes and these kinds of estrangement and a self-fictionalizing sort of stance.
What a wonderful world. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and for you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, bright blessed days, dark sacred nights. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of a rainbow, so pretty in the sky, and are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow. I learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the faces are so pretty in the sky are there on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. I watch them grow.
You know more than they're ever gonna know. I know a whole lot more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yeah. I think to myself, what a wonderful world.
I think focusing on Bard Campus is a place in which we can think about the degree to which our participation, and by our I mean a very specific question for each individual based on their racial identity and sexuality, class status, etc., can engage in an actual process of trying to renegotiate the reality of this campus. I personally feel like, to some extent, any real change that I know that I can put into a project of creating some kind of change or difference or rupture or what have you is immediately foreclosed, I feel like, in my participation already coming from an upper middle class white family from the north. And I think maybe that's not a problem. Maybe the project for me is to, and for other white students, is to listen. And I feel like there's just so many instances in my observations where there's just a massive, omnipotent sense of obliviousness, where I think I am engaging in something really radical or something like really intense and powerful, when you're not, and you're not listening. And if you don't listen, then you're potentially doing more damage and more harm than you are, letting the real work be done. So.
I like what you're saying, because you're inviting people to realize that they can have their own entry and exit into this knowledge, and that it's on a continuum. And so, the only way for us to learn is through dialogue and through listening to different views and perspectives. When I was writing the piece on whiteness, I'm not saying that any particular person literally is a cancer, like you or me or half of Annie or or anything like that. It's just that, I think it's human nature that humans throughout history, throughout the entire world, there's civilizations that take over other civilizations, that's just a fact. But the way in which it has been done, simultaneously annihilating people's cultures to the point that they can't ever get it back. Once you're introduced to Christianity, the English language, plastic, a cell phone, you're done. You know what I'm saying? Once you've had that, once you've had those entries, you can say, no, I don't want to do it, but there's something else that's happened. Not necessarily saying that that's a cancer either, but at the end of the day, the whole notion, there have been tons of scholars talking about white privilege, and what they basically say is that when white privilege is around, it doesn't allow white people to be who they are either. So by deconstructing this whole notion of whiteness and examining what it is and how it works, we will then actually be liberating everybody. The Christians, the Jews, the Muslims, the Hindus, every religion, every race, everything, because it is so narrow in its scope and narrow in its goals of perpetuating itself, like you said. It just goes on and on with you get married, you have 3 children, you get a white picket fence. Those children go to an elite college and they get married. And, that's just the way it perpetuates itself, and it doesn't allow for anything else to happen. So So it's a good thing because it's the way the world is working anyway. You know, we're becoming multinational and you know we're spanning out. So you might as well allow these people to be who they are. And then, again, when people are allowed to be who they are, the dialogue becomes much more rich. And so you know, you as a white person, me as a black person, a Dominican person, we'll all be able to share in this new liberated sense of who we are. And then we can bring it back to here at Bard. That's the goal. To start it here.
Sorry, I haven't tried to just sitting like for a second. You want to get on and make it? No, you hold on though. Okay. Leave that. Well, it's kind of got